Okay, and finally, the last legacy I want to discuss for now is the legacy of identity. I think this is a powerful gift that a family can give to itself and to its members. One of the examples I like to give when I think of the legacy of identity is I want to start with the word entitlement. And, I know nowadays we say, oh, this person is entitled, and we use it to refer to someone who, is trying to take undue advantage or to have something that they don't necessarily have access to. But I think if we took that term and we looked at it in terms of our families, then we can create a different narrative around it. So if you think about Prince Williams, for example, he's a titled gentleman. He's a prince. And as a result of his title, he's entitled to certain things. Because of his title, he's entitled to diplomatic passage around the world. Because of his title, he's entitled to the throne when the king dies or passes on after a long reign. The King of England dies or passes on after a long reign by the grace of God. He's entitled to certain things. There's certain things he gets just by virtue of having that title. I think it is a really powerful thing when a family thinks of their surname and who they are as a title that entitles the children or the people who carry that name to certain things. And this is not being delusional. This is actually being, intentional as to what we cultivate as a family. So if you think about it, if you thought about that properly, sometimes when you come into a meeting or you come into a place or your child does something, you'll be like, no, we don't do that. We're the pitons. We don't tell lies. We're the pitons. We keep our word, right? Those are ways that you start to teach them that this is what we do. And of course, we don't teach them by saying, we teach them by being. Because if you say and then you are not, what you're immediately creating a lack of congruence and integrity within them, because they think you're a hypocrite. They don't want to be like you. And then now they're split, right? Oh gosh, that's so interesting, because it just made me think of something else. One of the things that I have found that I'm not big on in families and relationships is I don't think it's a great thing when the partners are at war or fighting or going through things and we badmouth ourselves to the children, because I feel like this creates a split in the children. There's some things that I heard, like maybe, oh, my dad did when he was younger. And as an adult, I think, oh, do I have those tendencies? And I wonder, why did anybody tell me about this? I was a child. I didn't know. You couldn't have painted a full picture to me. You were just sharing your side of the story to me. But now you've created a long-term, eternal conflict or self-doubt within myself where I feel like, oh, am I like that sometimes? And there's some things I don't touch at all because I'm like, I don't even want to know if I could be like that, right? So do you see how that applies? But yeah, so the legacy of identity, I feel like this is really important. I belong to a prophetic community, and in that community we write something called an identity statement, and the identity statement as a Christian is to look at your prophetic words or to look at what the Bible has said to you. So if you haven't seen my identity statement, it's somewhere on this page, on my YouTube page, and I teach people how to draw this up. But your identity statement basically says who you are when God sees you. So mine starts with, my name is Hajarapiton, and I am a royal diadem in the courts of my God. And I go on to talk about all the things that the Lord has said about me. I am beautiful. I have no need to look out for myself, because God himself looks out for me. I have no need to carry fear or worry, because the Lord of angel armies is my daddy. Stuff like that. I talk about my skills, my talents, all the God-given gifts he's given me. That's my identity, and I have had to cultivate that as I've grown older. But in terms of the children and the family, I am also then helping them identify their identity statements, of course, by ensuring that they're not saying things that are contrary to what I know that God has called them. So teaching them to talk kindly to one another, to not give themselves names that are not what God has called them, and also to help them see who they are as a result of where they're from, the family they belong to, and all of that. So I think, it's so important to give them the gift of a strong sense of identity, to let them know that they are wanted, to let them know that how they are is okay, to let them know that their skills, their talents, their own unique makeup is needed in the world. I think all of those things really reinforce their sense of self, so that they go out and they are the pressure. They're not bowing down to peer pressure, to a large extent, because they sort of know who they are and they're comfortable with who they are. So I wanted to share those. Awesome. So I wanted to, I feel like this is my way of, acknowledging the 18 years, acknowledging the thoughts I've had around this time. This is my way of saying, of evaluating the journey and saying we've done well and we're doing well. I don't think that it's always been easy, but I'm grateful that, we get to choose. You can choose that I'm leaving a legacy of reconciliation. I'm leaving a legacy of love. I'm leaving a legacy of trying. I'm leaving a legacy of kindness. For the people who come behind me, because that's really important to me. And I'm going to leave with a song. I don't have the greatest singing voice, but I love this song. It's by a lady called Sarah Grooves, and it's called Generations. And it says, remind me of this with every decision. Generations will reap what I sow. I can pass on a curse or a blessing to those I will never know. So remember that generations will reap what you sow. Try to make, your marriage and the decisions you make around it a question of legacy, a question of, what works for this entire picture in the long run, as opposed to how do I feel now. Leave a legacy that matters, because generations will reap what you sow. Au revoir. And if you want us to talk about inheritance from a material point of view, we can talk about that in another live, if you send me enough DMs or comments saying this is what we want. Bye.